So guys, the time has come. Lost Ark has received the DPS meter. We will have a look at how it looks like and we'll comment on if it's useful or not. User Trollzor over at the official Lost Ark forums has made a post about the appearance of a DPS meter. I'm sure you guys have seen a screenshot of the DPS meter already, but I will leave a link to this in the description below. It looks very basic, but it displays the overall damage that you have dealt as well as the percentage. This is a third-party program that is not made by AGS or Smilegate. Rox already commented in that thread and she says that in terms of our rules, any app that modifies the game and or interacts with it in a way that provides information that is otherwise not available, the player is not approved. So what's really important here is, guys, this is a bannable offense. Use it at your own risk, and I would never do this because I would never risk my account for it. So I come from Mythic rating in WoW as well as high-end Mythic Plus. I am very used to a DPS meter. Therefore, I am not really against a DPS meter, but I'm not for it as well. Let's go over some pros, some neutral points, and some negative points for a DPS meter in Lost Ark. So the obvious pro right here is, of course, the self-improvement. Min-max lovers would love it to be able to squeeze out that last % of DPS, and therefore they would give min-maxers the opportunity to create their own builds and squeeze out the last % of damage. What would be much more beneficial for everyone is that you would have the ability to optimize your character. Since sometimes when you are following a guide, they have much better accessories, much more gold, and a best-in-slot set. Since most of the player base doesn't have access to best-in-slot accessories all the time, they need to fine-tune their builds according to what they have. Fine-tuning your suboptimal or non-perfect build is much easier with the DPS meter attached to it. You could also fine-tune your rotation and eliminate mistakes that you're doing on a regular basis. I really think that this big topic of self-improvement is a huge plus for a DPS meter in a game. In addition to that, a DPS meter can improve guild runs and group building for high-end legion rates. Logs and parses would make it much easier for a guild to judge the capability of a player and find a much more suited group inside the guild for that player. Now this ties exactly in the one neutral point that I have. Players can be judged. I feel like being able to judge players is not a pro or a con. It would become much easier to build groups that are on the same skill level and would therefore ensure much smoother runs. What comes with this though is that many people that are not as good as the top percentile will feel left out. I can definitely understand that this is a problem for some people. You have to keep in mind though that people that give their very best want to play with other people that give their very best and have their characters as optimized as themselves. Having a DPS meter, logs and parses would create the ability to form such groups. I feel like when you want to join those groups and are not at that level at the moment, it gives you an incentive to improve and optimize your character as well as your character piloting skills. If I go back in my MMO time, I really enjoyed being able to put hours into my rotation, trying the new rotation and the skills that I learned while doing so in a new raid and becoming better and better. Since I think increasing your numbers and your skills is part of an MMORPG, therefore I like a metric on top of that is not only judging your character's item level, but your ability to pilot it perfectly. Now let's get to the negatives. The problem with Lost Ark and having a DPS meter is that the fights are not really telegraphed. If you take WoW for example, you know that at 1 minute 26 seconds the boss will stand still and you will have 15 seconds to throw out all your cooldowns and burst. This makes the fights in WoW very comparable. This is not the case for Lost Ark. Fights are not really telegraphed and they are therefore not very comparable. You would need a very high sample size to create the class's average DPS. What is also a negative point is that pucks will replace counters or utility buffs for more damage skills to parse even higher. I define the most optimal DPS as being able to do maximum amount of damage while still performing every mechanic flawlessly. This definition will not hold true in pucks. Pucks will start to have even more problems of people greeding and not doing mechanics to pump more DPS. Of course, the other factor is going to be that pay-to-winners will always be in the 100 percentile and you will never get the chance to beat them. Furthermore, the toxicity inside the community, especially in pucks, will go through the roof with an addition of a DPS meter. I really feel like a DPS meter could be a nice addition to Lost Ark when it comes to self-improvement, or creating internal groups of the same skill level in guilds. I don't see the necessity for parses because let's be honest, these are just dick measuring contests that nobody will win because the pay-to-winners will be on top all the time. I am really curious how your guys' opinion is on DPS meters or passes, so let me know down in the comments below, and I'll see you next time.